Ну что?
Пойдем еду готовить. Ну ты слази, а я маме отдам и тебя возьму.
Спасибо.
Следующий ребенок.
Следующий. Поменьше.
Поменьше. Пойдем. Пошли пока.
Идите, давайте. Всем привет! I'm very glad to see on my channel today. This cutest baby is 2 weeks old today and she's joining me for this video because this video will be basically about her. I promised you to film the birth story video and tell how my birth was going on. Since I was not filming it in my hospital vlog, I was just filming, you know, in general how everything was going, but not the birth itself. So I've got a lot of questions, how was it? And it was pretty bad. So the baby Adeline, we call her Adelina in Russian and Adeline in English. I think this name suits her very well. And she looks quite big for the newborn. You can tell probably. So when she was born, she was 9.5 pounds or 4 kilograms, 300 grams, which is quite a lot for the baby girl. And since she's 2 weeks old now, she got even a little bit bigger. Not too much. I think she didn't grew almost at all since the birth. She looks quite the same. When I look at photos, she looks approximately like 2-month-old Agatha, which is quite funny, I think. Agatha, our firstborn, she was born much smaller. So I wanted to talk about the birth experience this time and a little bit the first time I was giving birth with Agatha. Here's a disclaimer, I don't want to scare anybody. And if it's your first time, like if you're, for example, pregnant and it's your first time being pregnant, giving birth, 99% chances you'll have better birth experience than I have both times because my experiences are quite complicated and painful and weird, basically because of the physiological reasons, because of my physiology, not because of the hospitals or doctors. Like both times I was giving birth, both hospitals and doctors were very nice. I just have weird births because of physiological reasons. Every time babies are located very much to my back, and it makes the process of dilation very long and just complicated. First time I was giving birth 2 years ago, 2.5, with Agatha. I had contractions for 3 days, and my birth experience was much worse than anybody of like who I know, any of my friends, acquaintances, any birth stories that I've been reading and any birth vlogs I've been watching. Just it was different, and I had contractions for 3 solid days with her. I was not sleeping during that time at all, so for 3 nights approximately I was not sleeping. I was very exhausted. The contractions started about 10-15 minutes apart, and they were like that for the first day. They were just becoming more intense and painful. And the second day they became like 7 minutes apart, more intense and painful. And the third day they became like 5 minutes apart, very intense and painful. And then I had contractions for several hours for approximately 3 minutes apart. And then I started finally dilating, and after dilation it took about 4 or 5 hours till I gave birth actually. And the doctors even had to break my water after the dilation started because it just was taking too long. And when I had to push, I was already passing out because I was so exhausted. So I didn't have any epidural or anything the first time. After that experience, I really hoped that the second time it would be different, and everybody was cheering me up and telling that, oh, second time it's much faster, second time is easier, it would be just faster and easier and just you'll be fine. Well, not really. My contractions started at midnight this time, approximately 10 minutes apart from the beginning. And they were much more painful than the ones I had with Agatha at the beginning. So that made me kind of glad because I was like, well, they are more painful. then probably this time it will be faster, the dilation will start faster. But everything went not exactly this way. I had contractions for the whole night. I was not sleeping almost at all because they were too painful, and they were more painful if I was laying down. So I had to stand up every 10 minutes, just go through the contraction and then lay down in bed to rest. By the time it was 6 a.m., I decided to wake up my husband and to go to the hospital. Because I was just thinking, well, I had contractions for 6 hours, they're approximately 10 minutes apart, maybe we should go now. We went to the hospital. In the hospital, they told me that I have no dilation at all, like nothing is going on there, and my contractions were quite painful already, so they let me stay in the hospital. And they said that the doctor will come at 9 a.m. and check again if the dilation started. And the doctor came and checked, and no, there was no dilation again. It was 9 hours of contractions, and I was already very tired because I wasn't sleeping, and it was very, very painful, much more painful than I had with Agatha for 3 days. The doctor said that probably it will take very long because the baby is located very much to my back, and everything is located quite weirdly, just physiologically. He said probably you'll have the similar birth experience every time. It's very hard for your body to dilate, so it takes a lot of time and a lot of contractions. And he said that probably it will go similar way. You'll just, wait for the day or two and have contractions before everything will start. Actually, the labor process itself will start. And I was already so tired and in so much pain. He asked if I want to induce it. He was recommending it because he was like, you'll be just exhausted by the time you'll have to give birth. And I agreed because I could not imagine going through that again for 3 days or even for 2 days or even for a day with that painful contractions. I just didn't want that. So he suggested to give me the induction pill. At 9 a.m. they gave it to me, and they said that they will check later if the dilation will start. After they gave me the pill, everything went quite intense. Almost immediately, I think in half an hour, my contractions started to be 3 minutes apart and very, very painful, very intense, and they always go right to my back. So I was going home after he brought me at night. He was going home and then he came back when they gave me the pill. He was trying to help me. I was sitting on that fitness ball most of the time. He was trying to massage my back a little bit, and doctors were coming very often to check how I was doing, and also were trying to massage my back because the contractions were so intense and they were so often, like 3 minutes apart, 2 minutes apart. So since 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. I had all these contractions. They became like 1.5 to 2 minutes apart. Very intense, very painful. I was just like, it felt like one whole contraction all the time because they were so often. I couldn't even go to the toilet, to do my stuff without having them over and over again during the whole process. So it was so intense. So it was 1 p.m. and the doctor came again to check if the dilation started. And he checked and he said that it just started, so just a little bit. And he said that probably it will take about 6 more hours. And I was in so much pain. I was so exhausted. I was crying. I was like, I can't do that anymore. I can't handle it anymore. I was asking them to do something because it was just, I felt like I can't do that. Like I literally, with Agatha, I was just first day, second day, third day. By the end of the third day, I felt like I'm done completely. And this time I also felt like I just can't do that anymore. Although it just been several hours, but because it was so intense and so often, I just could not. They said that they can give me an epidural, but I was signing up the contract for the water birth actually, and they were preparing to to fill the pool with water, and you can't have an epidural and water birth. Like you can't have both for some reasons. So they said that they don't recommend an epidural because just they don't know how it will go after the pill, and they wanted me to have water birth because that's what I wanted from the beginning. And they recommended me to go to the shower and sit in the shower for some time and massage my belly and my back with a warm shower. Maybe sit on the balloon there, right in the shower on that fitness ball. They said if it would feel nice, then we'll fill the pool and you'll just go there later a little bit when the process will be like more intense. Like how it can be more intense than that. I went to the shower and I started to sit there. Tola was helping me. He was holding the shower and massaging my belly. And all that time I was just like in the middle of passing out and falling asleep between the contractions because I was just sitting there with my eyes closed, just like meditating almost for 2 hours without standing, without moving. I was just sitting on that fitness ball, like bouncing a little bit, and like contractions were every 2 minutes apart approximately, and that I was thinking like I'm dying there. By the end of that time, so it was approximately 3 p.m. already, I started to scream every contraction because they became so painful. With Agatha, I was not screaming at all. I was even like, why would you scream in labor? It's just, well, it's painful, but it's fine. Like you can bear it. And this time I could not just keep my mouth closed. It was so painful. I was just screaming every contraction by the end of that time. My husband looked so scared. He was just looking at me all the time. He was silent for all of that time. He was with me for several hours. He was not saying a word. He was just trying to help me somehow, but he was kind of shocked. He was with Agatha too, the first time of giving birth, but he came later when I had like final contractions and when I had to push already, so he was there for a couple hours only, and this time he was almost the whole process, and the whole process was much more intense than the first time. So he just had that shock expression on his face and he was worried so much. So by the end of the time, it was 3 p.m. I was bouncing on that ball in that shower and I felt that I want to stand up because my back started to hurt so bad. And I was thinking that that's because I was just sitting on that ball for so long and because I had these intense contractions for so long and for so often. I felt that if I stand up, it would be much more painful than sitting there in that shower, but I decided to stand up. I just felt that I want to. And the doctor was walking around. She also said that I should stand up, move a little bit, and maybe go to the room. And I stood up, and the contraction hit, and it was so painful that I ended up like going down on my knees and just screaming and and almost crying. And then I felt that the blood was coming out, and I called the doctor. She was like next to me, and I said like there is blood and it's very painful. And she looked at me and she had that weird, like confused a little bit expression on her face. So she was looking at me. She was not saying a word, but she was trying to understand probably she needs to do something or not, because it hasn't been enough time yet according to what doctor said. So it's been only 2 hours, not 6. And I tried to stand up again, and again the contraction hit, and again I was just screaming. And I felt that weird feeling when the baby is going down. You have that feeling that all your bones are like moving almost. It's just so intense. You kind of feel like you're going to explode down there. I called her again and I said I feel like I need to push, and there's just more blood coming out. And she was like, okay. And she called the assistant and said that they need the bed for giving birth, because they had one bed in the room that was for laying down, and another bed for giving birth. They were moving from room to room, and I'm standing there almost on my knees. There's just blood coming. I can't really move. It's just everything is so painful. There is contraction after contraction, and she says to me, like, go to the room, like you need to get out of that shower, go to the room. I was able to make several steps inside the room, and I reached that bed that was just for laying down, and I could not even get up to the bed because she asked me, like, if you can't go to another bed, just get on that one. And I could not. I went there, I touched the bed with my hand, and there the contraction hit, and I just was standing there on my knees on that, like near that bed, and I just put my face on that bed like that with my hands and my face, and I was just screaming in the bed because it was so painful, and I was just like, I'm pushing, basically standing on the floor on my knees. And she was like, okay, that's not very good. They brought the bed, but I couldn't go there anymore. I couldn't reach that another bed. I couldn't move even from the point where I was standing. She found a tiny chair, a very small one with a hole. Like there is just the side of the chair that you can sit on, and there is just a hole in the middle. I don't know what this chair is made for. I don't think it's for giving birth, but just for something it's very low. And she brings it to me, and she's like, just turn around and sit on that chair. That's the last thing you need to do. Just do that. So between the contractions, I was able to kind of turn around, sit on that chair with my back on the side of the bed, and I felt like I need to push, and I was screaming and pushing, and they said, don't scream, and I was trying my best. With Agatha, really, I was not screaming. It was like the pushing was not even painful. And this time it was so painful and so intense. I just felt that the baby is going out of me like a rocket. And I was not even controlling this process. I was just pushing like crazy, and the baby was just going out. I could not even stop it or control it anyhow. Just like my mind was somewhere out of there at that moment. I don't know how, it's just all of that happened. And what is crazy is that with Agatha, I had stitches, I teared up a little bit, and they cut me a little bit. And this time, not only I didn't tear up anyhow, and I don't have any stitches now, and even the old ones were completely fine. They didn't tear, like everything is completely fine. So the doctor didn't have to stitch anything. And that's just crazy to me because she's big and her head is big, and just in general, she's just big. When they took her out of me, I was just like, oh wow, she's bigger than I thought. And I felt such a relief when when she went out. I'm not a big fan of birth. I know a lot of girls kind of like that process even, or are just excited about this process and say good stuff about this process, but maybe because I have that kind of experience both times, I'm not a fan of birth. Like for me, it's something crazy and very painful and long and just hard to bear. But the moment when the baby is out of you is just such a relief, like no contractions anymore, no pushing anymore, just nothing. You just lay down and there is a baby and she's screaming, and you don't feel that pain anymore. It's just such a relief. Like every time it's so good. Like the moment the baby is out, it's so good. But till that moment, the whole birth process is just, I'm not a fan of it. Like it's so painful and so long, and just, not a fan. And this time I'm so thankful that the recovery is much faster and much easier than the first time. She's 2 weeks old now, and a couple of days ago we already went for our first one-day trip with my mom. She was leaving today and we wanted to show her a couple more places, so we packed our stuff and we went for a one-day trip. And she was 10 days old, and with Agatha I would not be able to do that because I had stitches. I was bleeding all the time. I had to take care of these stitches. I could not sit for 2 weeks at all. only on my side, and like my back hurt, everything hurt. And I felt approximately the same amount of like recovery only a month later with Agatha. And today she's just 2 weeks and I already feel very, very good. I could even fit in my jeans. That's really impressive. I'm still laying down most of the time because I just feel like I want to, but I feel so much better. I can walk, I can sit. There is a little bit of pain left, a little bit of blood left, but in general it's just so much better than the first time. The birth was more intense and more painful, but the recovery is much better. She's more chubby a little bit than Agatha, so it's a little bit easier to take care of her. She's not that tiny, so it's just a little bit easier, but she sleeps like a newborn all the time, which is very nice. Thank you guys a lot for watching today's video. I hope it was interesting for those of you who are interested in how my labor process was going on. And I hope to see you in my next video, which probably would not be related anymore to birth or pregnancy. It's been a season, and now we will do something more interesting probably. So see you next time, guys. Bye bye.